Space whales? Nope, rather deal with devils. Chapter 61, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Yasaka flew at high speed directly towards Kunou, and I couldn't muster up the words to explain how Kunou actually did basically die for a bit, so I remained silent as she strode into the office building following her daughter's path to the room we had previously taken. And she only slowed at seeing the corpses of the assassins we already dealt with before she entered the room, with Mami's voice saying coldly, "Stop," before she coughed and said sheepishly, "Sorry, Lady Yasaka, I thought it would be Jake who would enter first." But Yasaka only gave a cursory nod before she swept past Mami's form, and Kunou gave a squeak as she was picked up, and I could hear the sound of flesh meeting flesh hard as her face was pulled into the large exposed cleavage Yasaka had with her open kimono. "My baby girl," Yasaka whispered as she held Kunou against her, and then she seemingly remembered we were there. She looked up from her daughter's head and said formally, "I cannot thank you enough for your assistance, Jake. But if you would, please give me and my daughter some time alone, would greatly appreciate it." And then it happened. The fucking shoe dropped as Kunou took her chance to pop her head out of Yasaka's fat tits and all but shouted, "No, Mama, don't send Daddy away." The room went silent. Yasaka's tails that were wrapped around her daughter in a tight hug went visibly stiff, with the hair on the tails looking like she just stuck her finger into a light socket or something as Yasaka slowly turned her head from me with a blank face and looked down towards her daughter. Kunou thankfully realized she blurted out her thoughts entirely too fucking soon. Continued to speak as she held a hand to her chest. "Mama. I really did die, and the Jake brought me back by taking me on a trip to another pantheon's realm and had a goddess revive me." Yasaka's face twisted several times. Until she, with forced calm, spoke aloud. "Jake. Please give me and my daughter time to speak alone." And I knew this was an order coming from a highly emotional mother, so I silently gave Mami a look who nodded, and we left the room to go into the neighboring office so the ladies could talk. After Jake left the room, Kunou managed to squirm out of her mother's grip, who placed her hands across her own face and brought them down in a deep exhale to steady herself, with her mother saying quietly, "Kunou, my darling. Please explain, don't hold back a single detail." And so Kunou did a calm that was only existent due to her having been able to cry her heart out and de-stress upon her new daddy's lap and chest when she had nightmares. "Well, when I was going to this building with my luggage to go with Jake to leave Kyoto as you wanted, I got attacked, and the man had one of those curved blades, and I felt it breaking my ribs from my stomach as he carved through my chest and through my heart." Yasaka saw red with a shudder running through her form at the mental image her daughter provided, and Kunou pulled open the sash of her own kimono and even showed the pale scar running across her chest from her lower stomach to just below her shoulder, from where the assassin carved open her chest. And even Aqua's healing didn't get rid of the scar, as the scar was a result of the mental trauma that Kunou had for the wound, not letting it fade. But as Yasaka's shaking hand traced the scar over her daughter's bare chest, Kunou continued speaking quietly. "Jake killed the assassins. And then seeing I was. Yeah, he knew he had to help me, and he took me to another plane to where a goddess was, and he made a deal at a cost to only himself for the goddess to restore my body and soul." A small flush entered Kunou's cheeks as she shifted on her mother's lap, but she powered on and said with some mounting excitement, "The goddess was crazy, and he needed to kill a great monster in penance for my revival, but he did so, and even as he did so, he didn't try anything weird towards me. He only cared for me, provided for me. And he even let me cry and get nasty when I had nightmares about the dark I saw when I was dying." Yasaka sighed and gently patted her darling daughter's head with her, pulling her daughter's head into her soft, bountiful bosom as she held her daughter for a moment to absorb the explanation, while she picked up some other things on her own as well. For one, that whatever plane of existence they went to, it was far. Very far, which explained the obvious time difference that existed between the realms, as she knew even with the greatest of mind control that her daughter couldn't have so many fake memories implanted without at least an hour of mental downloading within her mind. And in the time that she had sent her daughter away to Jake for safety before going to confront Genbu, there wasn't even 15 minutes. To say nothing of the simple reality that through her senjutsu sensory technique, She had felt her daughter's life force collapse and peter out like any wounded warrior left to bleed out would have theirs before abruptly fixing itself and coming back anew. Lastly, as further proof of Kunou's words and Jake's great endeavor to heal her, she could feel the divine blessing upon Jake's form that wasn't there but an hour ago before the attack. So that left one last thing. Yasaka gave a wry smile as she helplessly pinched her daughter's cheeks and demanded. What will the other yokai think when they hear you calling a human teenager barely more than 5 years older than you daddy, young lady? At this point, Yasaka had already realized that in however long Kunou was gone with Jake, she had hopelessly latched onto the young man as a paternal parental figure who would protect her even at great cost to himself. But Yasaka's face went still as Kunou, with a deepening blush, said entirely too damned bravely and making Yasaka want to give her own daughter a spanking. That he is beyond lucky to be dating you, mama.